Last year, there's a Kenyan parent who trended on TikTok, and she shared her experience with one of the insurance companies having bought 2 education policies. And watching that short clip, really, it made rounds, across social media. Watching that clip, of course, I really, sympathized with her. I empathized with her. And there's some words that she said. She said, Aki, usichukue insurance if you don't understand it. I need us to understand insurance. And in today's video, I want us to just look at, what is that product that this parent had? And maybe, what are the do's and don'ts, when it comes to such a product, and how can we ensure, how can we appreciate maybe insurance better so that we don't get to that point where, you're looking back with so much remorse and you are saying like, that is 11 years worth of my hard-earned money. Like, I have been saving for a whole 11 years. If you remember her story, her first child's policy, she had been saving for 7 years. For the second child, she had been saving for 4 years. And she was really, she was really grieving because all that money had just gone down the drain, or she felt she was at a point where she could not pay up the arrears, so she was actually going to lose that money. Karibu sana to today's episode. My name is Mama Bima Kenya. I'm a licensed insurance agent in Kenya and a passionate insurance educator. Karibuni. Really loving my tea today. It reads invest, protect, and prosper. Okay, so we believe in all that. And here at Mama Bima, we don't believe that investments need to be in a silo and not, interact with protection. We believe in just merging everything together. Like, I see the value of investments, I see the value of savings, I see the value of, protection, and ensuring that all these different facets of your financial portfolio are well balanced and each is doing its part. Okay. In the case of the Kenyan parent who really trended last year because of, the loss of her money with the insurance company, or how she looked at it, guys, I want us to start by number one, appreciating education policies. Okay, because I like to say education policies are pretty much like the staple life insurance product in our market. But I still, sometimes I'll be, engaging a prospective client and they will tell me, what, I have an education policy here and there. And when you actually probe them, they actually act, like surprised, like they're asking you, are you sure an education policy is a life insurance policy? Prepare yourself. An education policy, of what we call an endowment policy, is a type of life insurance policy. It's a special type of life insurance policy. So you see, within the umbrella of life insurance, okay? So we have different types of products under that. So we have like the pure life insurance policies, that is like the term life. We had the whole life, and those are the ones that only pay like when the insured risk happens true. And then we also have like endowment policies. And by the way, endowment policies are so popular in our market. I like to say, I want to estimate that maybe out of all the, retail products that are sold in our market, I would estimate like 90%, if not more, of the products that are being distributed in the Kenyan market are actually endowment policies, and a huge chunk of that being education policies. That education policy that you're probably, using to plan for your children's future school fee expenses, that is a life insurance product. Okay, because what that policy does is it's merging the protection aspect, plus the savings aspect. Okay, so it's bringing two very important things together: protection plus savings. Now, when life insurance comes to play, ladies and gentlemen, you've already gotten into a contract, and we really need to appreciate this, because I went through her post on TikTok, went through like the comments, and oh my, thousands of people were in the comment section just wailing. To be very honest, this is something I also encounter all the time, when I'm dealing with clients, people who've taken insurance before, you'll hear a lot of words like, oh, I was with company X, I had saved for 4 years, nilipoteza kila kitu, I lost my 70,000 with company this, it was during COVID, I was unable to continue paying for my premiums, kila kitu just went down the drain. Insurance is a that word that I don't like. Hey, Kwanza, that one. If you ever comment that word, but I never say on my IG, I just come out guns blazing, knocking you out. I don't play about insurance on my page, so don't come and comment that one. But the truth is, that's why I'm always really dedicated. Okay, and it's even the essence of this particular video. I want us to understand insurance. Hakuna kusema, I was not told that this would be the consequences, because also, like in the comment section, I also came across a lot of people just responding to her and telling her, kweli haukusoma terms and conditions, don't you know insurance is a contract, don't you know this, don't you know this? And by the way, she was brave enough to also respond, but you could really tell that, yeah, maybe there was a knowledge gap there at the point where she was taking up this product. Maybe she didn't really appreciate the kind of discipline you need when you take up a life cover. Even as we talk about education policies, we need to appreciate that these are life insurance policies. When you take up an endowment policy, when you take up an education policy, when you take up any life insurance policy, hata tuseme whole life, by the way, when you take up a last expense policy, the one thing you need to really commit to from the get-go, you need to appreciate, number one, the discipline life insurance demands of you. For that contract to continue to be enforced, then the life insurance product demands of you to really stay committed to paying your premiums, because only when your premiums are paid, then can that contract continue to be enforced. And let me tell you something that happened last year. This is a story. One of my very good friends in the business, she's a colleague, brilliant lady. She's been in insurance business for many years. And what I love about her, one, she's an independent agent, so she works for different insurance companies. We struck just a good friendship maybe 2-3 years ago, and she easily takes up even newer agents under her wing. Okay, so I really love her because I learn a lot from her. She has a wealth of experience. And last year, she had covered this gentleman from February. That's when his education policy went into force. And unfortunately, in April, he lost his life through an accident. So she would give me sort of like a first-hand account of the claims process. And the gentleman left behind a very young widow, like 24 years old, a very young child. So this was a very young family. And when they now embarked on the claims process, and the young widow came with her father-in-law, to now initiate and do the paperwork, she would tell me just how shocked the father-in-law was. Like, he was trying to make sense of this product. This was an education plan, by the way, not even a whole life cover. He was trying to make sense of how his son had paid premiums for 2 months. Insurance is like that unsung hero. Like, this gentleman had paid premiums of 16K per month for 2 months. And the immediate payout that was being made to that family was in the millions and multi-million shillings. And the insurance company was still saying, so we are paying you for a start, like 200% of the sum assured. Going forward, we will waive the premium. You see the 16,000 that was being paid by the policyholder? Stop. Okay? And at maturity, when this policy was supposed to mature and now start paying the school fee payouts, we will honor every single payout to the letter. And let me tell you, the dad-in-law was so shook. Like, he was trying to make sense, like, how did my son like pay 32K? And you have shown me the schedule of all the money, first the money that's being paid immediately to the family. And you're saying at the end of the term, like depending on how long that term was running, that you will still go ahead and pay school fee for my grandchild. And I think that's the part of insurance that we never get to see. Those are the unsung stories, So, of course, we know in journalism, I did communication in school. There was this thing that we were taught that when it bleeds, it leads, it's in a chic headlines. So we never get to see other side of insurance, where families literally, and they're being given a schedule of how payments will be done, and they're being given, say, like discharge vouchers to fill out, and they're in so much disbelief. And insurance is coming through for such families. By sharing this story, this is not to take away from the experience of our parent who trended on TikTok. So let's go back there, okay? Because she had a similar, education policy in place, actually two for that matter. And you can tell she had been paying for those policies for many years, 7 years and 4 years for the second policy. But where did things go wrong? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. From my experience, what I've learned about many of us, for example, if we hit a hard time financially, our insurance commitments, drops down in the list of priorities, inawekwa down pale chini kwa list. You get, like, we will cater for every other financial commitment before tukumbuke insurance. And really, guys, please, I usually say when things are getting tough, I believe that is the time where we need to really prioritize our insurance commitments to ensure those premiums are paid. Because when you see how insurance comes through for families, and remember, those policies need to be active for them to honor up their commitment. Where did the rain really start beating us so much as Kenyans when it comes to our relationship with these endowment policies, these education policies? I would say when things get tough, we disappear. Like, we ghost our agents, we ghost the insurance company. When you see your agent is calling you, do you even pick up your calls? By the way, please, that is the time you should bring your agent closest to you so that you are able to arrive at a solution. For today's episode, I want to give you 3 of the key options that you have when things are really tough. Actually, let's say 4 options that you have. So some underwriters will be able to give you all the 4 options available to you, and maybe others will give you 3 of these options, okay? But let's look at them. If things get tough for me and I know that I'm not able, to pay premiums into my life cover or into my education policy, option number 1 that, underwriters will give you is number 1, you can actually ask, say, for a grace period when it comes to your premium payments, okay? So how long does it take before your policy lapses? Lapsing means if the premium stays unpaid, then the policy goes out of benefit, right? So how long does it take? This ranges from one insurance company to the other. I've seen companies where by day 60, so 2 months, policy in a lapse. But you've not yet lost your policy, by the way. Would I lose bado? It's only that it's no longer in effect. And what I don't like about that is, remember, these life insurance policies, the endowment plans, they have like a waiting period. So every time your policy lapses, what happens? Waiting period, hata ukikuja uendele kulipa, waiting period has started again. That is such a scary thing for me. Let me tell you, every time like I buy or I add to my, portfolio of protection plans, vidole watu viko hivi, because say you buy a new whole life cover and in the past 6 months, there's a waiting period in the event, say, of a critical illness diagnosis or natural death. What tu niko hivi? Like, can this 6 months repeat haraka, because I need to be at 100% coverage. So every time your policy lapses, that is one of the key dangers that you're facing. Because even if you come and restart and continue paying your premiums, that waiting period applies afresh. This can be, you can come back and God forbid the worst happens like a month in, 2 months in, and your policy is not in force. I mean, that would be mightily painful. So we want to see how can we ensure that hopefully, one, the policy doesn't lapse. So there's some underwriters that will actually give you a grace period, like stop ghosting your insurance company or your agent when things get tough. Bring them closer. Write to them. Like many times I write a letter for my client and then send to them, they sign, and we send to the insurance company to ask for a grace period. I've had wins of grace periods being extended up to even 6 months. Like literally, your client is given a payment freeze or sort of like a premium holiday, say for 6 months, to just see can they bounce back during that time. So the policy still remains in force. So that could be one of the options. Stop writing yourself up. Stop saying that, oh, my cousin had a different experience, so I know this company will not. Just write. Knock. And the door, what? It's knock. And he shall answer. Like, just knock. Go for that opportunity. The second option is, if you get to a point where your policy has actually lapsed, when you finally bounce back financially, okay, you will have the option of what we call, you can have the option of redating that policy. Okay, so there are two main options, redating or reinstating. Let's first look at how the redating works. So redating is where you come and you say, you know what, I bought a policy in 2025. It's a 10-year policy, so I should finish paying my premium payments by 2035. But along the way, I went for a whole 1 year, I had not paid my premiums. So you come back, you tell the insurance company, you know what, I have bounced back, I can continue to pay my monthly payments, but Mimi, I don't have these arrears of yours for a whole year. Okay, so what does the insurance company do? They push forward your end date to 2036 by the number of period that you had not paid your premiums, and you just get back to paying your policy and unaendelea too, so you don't have to pay any arrears. So that is redating, where the date is pushed forward as per the period you didn't manage to pay premiums, and you are able now to continue with your policy without having to pay any arrears. Okay, so that's the second option you have. Third option is what we call reinstating. It's where you come and say, you know what, these premiums I was to finish in 2035. I've gone for a whole year, sijalipa, but I've bounced back and I have your arrears. Okay, so you're like, don't change any dates, shikeni your arrears, tuendeleeni na policy yangu. So in that case, that is what we call reinstating that policy. Okay, and lastly, another option that still exists, because sometimes you could get started with your policy, you're like, hey, I can do 20K per month, I can do 50K per month, but along the way, things become tough and you realize, I cannot do this 20K anymore. You have the option, like you need to bring that agent of yours closer and ask them, can I reduce this premium? Can you go back to the insurance company and recalculate for me? Let me tell you, I would say one of the biggest wins I had in 2024, a client who had purchased what we call a whole life policy. And she was paying a really sizable amount month on month. And, along the way, like she lost her income totally. And she was just in a bad place. And we sat down with her. We had 3 meetings on different occasions. And I realized, you know what? My client, one, at this point, I do not want her to go through the stress of, because we had already asked for the grace period. Other than just the grace period, while we were still having our meetings, we realized that, that bounce back may not happen as quickly as, we were praying for. And we went back to the insurance company and just asked them, we told them, hey, over the period that the client has been running this policy, this is the lump sum amount that she has paid as premiums. Okay, so how about if we reduce her premium to X amount? Can this now be spread out into, sort of like the future of this policy? Guys, we reduced that policy to minimum premium. That is what the client opted for. And that policy is now paid ahead for 19 years and 6 months. 19 years, 6 months. I hope you hear that. Literally, that client in the future will only need to honor 6 more months of that policy and it will be done at minimum premium. And when we sat down with her, we made sense of that decision and said, you know what, Mama Bima, when I finally bounce back, we can always sit down and put another proper income protection in place. But for now, let us work even just with a bare minimum, because a little insurance is still better than no insurance. Like, the point I'm trying to drive home is, when we hit a hard place financially, because this is life, and life sometimes lives in that way, like it throws curveballs. Things were good, the next time things are not as rosy. Do not ghost your insurance company. Do not ghost your insurance agent. Call them to the table. Get to see, what are my options? This is the policy I have. How can I salvage this situation? In that video for that parent, she said, like, instead of taking up, this insurance products, look for another investment. No. Maybe that was the only part I was like, no. The thing is, investments and insurance ought to go hand in hand, by the way. Ensure that your investments, you are participating in the different asset classes. Do your bonds, do your money markets, do your real estate, But at the same time, let that story of my good friend, the agent I was talking about, whose client passed away in 2 months' time from the commencement of his policy, let that story not be lost on you. If you get to see behind the scenes within insurance companies, if you get to sit down with that widow who holds your hand for 30 minutes, crying, after you have filled out her entire discharge, like her DV, okay? And you filled it out, you've put the bank details, and all she needs to do is sign, and that is a check of 30 million coming from the insurance company. And she sits there for 30 minutes just crying and bawling and crying, because in that moment, first she doesn't and she actually labeled, that product that her husband had bought, and I'm talking of a different claim, as a product of love. We never get to see those behind the scenes interactions, with clients who have probably hit the lowest of lows, but insurance comes through for them in such a big way. Okay, so dear Kenyans, when it comes to how you're interacting with your education plan, please remember that hini game your discipline, and it's also something long term. You would actually rather start small and then build it over time. You continue to just add onto the premiums that you are committing into that. But endowment plans, life insurance policies, wacheni niwaambie, as we would say, kitambo ni kiboko yao. So that's it from me. For that parent, who really trended on TikTok at the end of the day, and for all the people who really feel say aggrieved or not happy, unhappy, maybe with their past experiences, with insurance, it's just my hope that maybe that one or two experiences you had will not make you now totally shun insurance. Insurance works, okay? You just need to really appreciate what kind of commitment you're going into. And when you sit down, with your insurance agent, when you go through all your options, okay, and you feel that, this is the right plan for me, please take up that leap of faith. Insurance is a financial tool that is there to ensure that, even as you go about your hustle, if life was to throw a curveball your way, and this curveball could either come, say, in the event of maybe in the face of looking like either premature death, or as a critical illness, or as a disability. If either of those things were to happen, your family, msingi your family does not have to be as shaken financially. Okay, so that's it from me today. My name is Mama Bima Kenya. I'm a licensed insurance agent in the 254 and a passionate insurance educator. I'm also keen just to hear from you, down here in the comment section. I would also just want to hear, what was your take away, just from that video that really trended. So please feel free to get back to me. Also, my contacts are also labeled, here on the screen. Chini. You can always reach me on email, mamabima@places.co.ke, or you can also WhatsApp me or call me on +254 739 040 400. Always grateful for your time. This is our platform for us to understand insurance. I really loved what that lady said. Aki, usichukue insurance if you don't understand it. So this is our platform for us to understand it. And as my T says today, invest, protect, and I repeat again, protect and prosper. Thank you so much. And until the next video, stay insured.